Hey guys, this is my first Animal Jam Creepypasta, so warning, it might be bloody, gory, scary, I don't know. So yeah, so let me start. I went on Animal Jam, it was a normal day, nothing was, different. It was warm and sunny, so I just went into Jamal. Things were normal, people just dancing, trying to get people to come to their dens for parties and other things like that. So I decided maybe I could get adopted today. So I went into the pillow room as a bunny. A deer stood out there saying, "I adopt all bunnies," so I did go to her den. When I went to her den, everything was black. The walls splattered with blood, paw prints of blood, seeming like someone trying to get out. I heard yowls and screams and screeches. I looked around and there was no one there. I started to look around into different rooms. I didn't really want to, but I tried. I looked into this one room which had ropes, knives, and other torture materials. I went into another room with a dusty old bed, and it had mainly just essential things for a room: a mirror, some chairs, a desk, nothing too unusual. I stared at the bed and thinking, everything else is so horrid. Why is this the only normal thing? Soon I saw a tiara by the bed. I stared at it. Randomly it disappeared. I have seen the deer came back. So I went to her and asked her, "What is going on? Is this a glitch or something?" And she said, "No, welcome." I soon got a gift. It was the tiara. I didn't know really what to do, but I did put it on, thinking maybe this is a clue to get out, but it wasn't. When I put it on, there were spikes and thorns on the inside. My face had blood dripping down the middle. I cried slowly, and she took off the tiara and ripped it off my flesh. It left my head bloody and bumped. She dragged me into a room, the room with all the torture materials. So she grabbed the ropes and wrapped them around my neck. She hung the ropes on the fans, and then slowly, I started to stop breathing. She finally took me down while I was still kind of breathing. She grabbed the chains and she tied them on my paws. She put them in between two bikes. Two small, little, helpless wolves crawled into the room with blood on their faces. They looked small and babyish. I asked what was going on. They never replied. The two wolves climbed onto the bikes. As I was chained to them, they started moving apart. My arms started to rip. Blood everywhere. My arms were slowly getting popped out of their sockets, and a little blood had even started to drip. They finally stopped, as I couldn't go on much longer. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what those wolves were doing there. As soon as they got off the bikes, they whispered in my ear, "Save me." I wanted to, but I couldn't. I wanted to get out. I wanted to save all the people there. Then finally she took me up to her room. I saw all these animals trapped. They were all small babies, but I couldn't just stand there. I tried to grab the knife from the room, but she wouldn't let me. She turned the knife back on me and stabbed my neck. She said, "Hold on, I'm sorry, very, very sorry. I didn't mean to do this all." And I looked at her, and she said, "Here's a gift for you. I'm very sorry again." And then I opened the gift, surprisingly. I didn't really want to, but maybe she was sorry. So I opened it. It was a spiked collar. As I rejoiced, I didn't notice the background. The background was a small rabbit looking exactly like me, slowly breathing and dying in pain and torture. I didn't notice it yet from my rejoice, so I put it on. The spikes had turned back on my neck and started slowly caving in and choking me. The deer laughed maniacally, and she smiled. Her grin, that grin, I just couldn't take it. I was so scared. I couldn't go. Slowly, my throat started to pop out. I couldn't breathe anymore, so I knew it was my last breaths. I smiled at her and said, "I forgive," because being the person I am, I just couldn't hate her for this. I slowly had to choke out, "What made you do this?" And she smiled. Her smile started to curve downward. She stopped the spikes from caving in. Everything started to turn lighter. And she said, "Mommy." And I looked at her like she was crazy. And she said, "Mommy," repeatedly. I'm like, "Mommy?" And she smiled with her eyes wide. "Yes, yes, yes." And her voice started to get louder. "Yes, yes, yes." I stared. I didn't know what to do, so I made a run for it. She started chasing after me. I finally found a place to hide. Everything was lighter now, though. Suddenly, they turned dark again. I hid behind a giant plushie. Its eyes were popped out. There was a knife in it. It had little cuts with the stuffing popped out. I stared. I couldn't believe what was going on. Suddenly, all the animals had been let free. They came charging at me, but slowly and limping. I tried to get away, but I couldn't. I was swept away by the animals that were trying to get me. Then my paw print of blood had become permanently marked on the wall.